After 5 years of Shakespeare, I was like, I am done. My husband asked me one question that nobody had ever asked me in my life. What is it that you really want to do? And even today, I am very uncomfortable with the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur. I feel like it's all over the place. I'm pretty much the elderly person in most entrepreneurial communities. I did learn that, like from editing to newsletters to software, to record this thing, getting on Teachable, creating a course, uploading it. When it comes to communication training, I think I'm a snob. I'm like, sure, that's cute. That's really cute.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you have imagined.
And the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work.
Courage is not doing things in the absence of fear. Courage is doing things despite the fear.
Growth comes from consistent action.
And you're realizing, hey, I'm not the only one with these problems.
Welcome everyone to the BYOB podcast. Very excited to have Suman here with us today. Suman is a communications coach, a personal branding expert on LinkedIn, and is, according to me, an absolute ball of energy when it comes to communication and her business. I'm very, very excited to speak with you today, Suman. So thanks so much for making it.
You're welcome, Raashid. I'm super excited too because Jigsaw is my favorite community so far.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Suman, I have loads of questions for you, but I figure we should start, at the start. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this space of communication training?
I am a literature postgraduate, and after you do something like that, it's either you do an MPhil, PhD, and you become a professor in a college, or you go out and do something. But after 5 years of Shakespeare, I was like, I am done. This is definitely not something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and explore other options. For me, it was important that I have a people-facing career because I was never the kind of person who would want to sit behind a computer and write or design. So content writing was another career that probably would have been great for me. But I was like, no, it has to be related to people. Okay, and since I was always good with communication, of course, what I train now is something that I've learned over decades, actually. But a chance, this thing where someone gave my sister a pamphlet to some MBA coaching center, and she said, hey, these guys need faculties to teach in English, why don't you try? And that's how I got into communication.
Wait, hold on. All of it was so beautiful and made a lot of sense, and then you threw in that a chance pamphlet got you into the space?
Truth. That's the truth. I didn't know what to teach. My mom wanted me to do B.Ed, so school teaching was another option. But I was like, I don't want to teach in a school for the rest of my life. Okay, so all right, I went giving out my resumes to. In fact, my first job was through that newspaper circling that you've seen in the movies in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I sound like a dinosaur, but I actually put my resume and addressed them, put a stamp, and posted. So,
oh wow, that was like in the old days what growth hacking would be now. Like a fancy way to get your message across. That's what it was.
Bunch of interviews through that, and then my sister was like, oh, here's an opportunity, here's a pamphlet. They're also looking for faculties. Apply kar do, ho jayega maybe. So that's how I got into my first job.
Okay, and how did you go from your first job to starting out and venturing on your own?
Oh my God, how much time you got? That is important.
All the time you need.
Okay. Probably so I've been doing this for 21 years, and I don't have a story of, hey, I tried something, I struggled, I quit, and then I moved on to something else. So this is 2002, okay, when I started my career. So it started with CAT coaching, thanks to the pamphlet, okay. So that was the first one. I did 5 years of full-time job, which is when I got certified as a trainer through Hero Mind. That's when I realized, oh, corporate training is something. And the way they taught us how to ask questions, respond, listen, give feedback, that kind of appealed to me. And I said, hey, this is so much better than just basic language training. So I did that for 5 years. And then 2007, the biggest change that can happen in any person's life happened to me. I got married. How I got married is a different story for a different platform maybe. But then I moved to Mumbai overnight and I was like, okay, I'd like to go back to my full-time job because I always loved the certainty of the routine of a 9-to-5 job. You know, you get a paycheck at the end of the month. And surprisingly, when I moved to Mumbai, the center I was working for, IMS Learning Center in Delhi, also moved to they opened a new center where I was. So I was like, you know what?
Right.
It can't get better than this. They have a new center right here. And I know those people. But then my husband asked me one question that nobody had ever asked me in my life. What is it that you really want to do? Do you want to go back to a 9-to-5 job and work for somebody else? You have 2 hours of classes and then you're sitting there for 6 hours doing nothing. I was like, okay, corporate training is something that I always wanted to do. Let's try and explore that. So this is 2009 when Naukri.com was the only thing available. So I put my resume there because new city, I didn't know anyone. And it was there for about 6 months while I polished my skills on content writing. I actually helped somebody rewrite a book on wedding planning. So he said, I've written so many versions, I want you to write one. So I did all that. But then, gradually somebody discovered me on Naukri, gave me a job. And I did that so I freelanced quite a bit till 2012, 2013. We were called freelancers back then. And the term in 2013, 14 was training consultant. Entrepreneurship as a buzzword had still not started. So I was a freelancer for 6-7 years. And then I became a training consultant because freelancers gave a feeling like, okay, you're a freelancer. But training consultant kind of gave us more heft, as a professional.
Some things never change. Freelancer still sounds.
Yeah. So 2014 was when I figured, you know what, people are all online. They're posting pictures of their programs and it feels like they're doing so much of work and it's like I'm just sitting at home. So I figured, you know what, I really need to go out there. So I started my blog on sumankher.com. I started a Twitter account, a LinkedIn page. Of course, I'd been on LinkedIn for a long time. But then I got on LinkedIn. I posted a lot of stuff on Facebook. So I think that's when I started being an entrepreneur, so to say. And it's been 9 years now. And I don't have to tell you, with the pandemic wedged right in between, it's a totally different world today. So I started from there and here I am.
Wow. It's a fascinating journey sprinkled with some very unexpected parts of your story that include pamphlets, cat coaching, and a whole bunch of other things, which is very cool. One of the things I picked up on when you were sharing is you loved the certainty and the routine of a 9-to-5. And being an entrepreneur is, I mean, at the risk of sounding arrogant, according to me, the complete other extreme, right? I don't know of anything that is as more of an extreme change as entrepreneurship. So how have you found yourself transitioning or evolve? How did you find yourself evolving into this from certainty to uncertainty, from routine to a little bit of chaos, I'm sure, in your life? How did that transition go?
So for me, entrepreneurship, sorry for using quotes again, because being on my own started with my husband saying, why do you really want to go out and work for somebody else? Okay. And the world was totally different at that time. I would wait for people to call me. They would find me online or, look at my profile. Consultants were the middlemen, so to say, where they would say, hey, I have a client. Would you like to come and train? So that happened a lot. And to me, becoming an entrepreneur was more, again, by chance, because my spouse traveled a lot and somebody had to be home. You could say it's like worked out both ways, saying, hey, why don't you explore the freedom of not going and working for somebody else? But also I had enough time to manage home. I had elderly people at home. Okay. And my husband basically went out. He traveled a lot. He made the money. So I managed the finances, the house, the relatives, the works. And it just helped to have the freedom to say, okay, I can go and work when I have a training program, but other days I can really do what I want. And even today, I am very uncomfortable with the uncertainty of being an entrepreneur. I feel like it's all over the place. But when I look back at it, I think I was as passionate about doing something on my own by 2014 as I am now, because in anticipation to the questions today, I was thinking of my journey and I was like, you know what, when I started my blog in 2014, even then I remember planning 3 different modules and saying, this is for corporates, this is for women and this is for individuals. Okay, so probably that thing was always there in my mind. It's just that the execution of it has changed so much from then to now, and I've really never found a mentor, and trust me, I looked. So I struggled my way through and I didn't give it up, and then it was too late to go and work for somebody else. I really can't have someone tell me when to turn up to office. So it just became the default choice. So yeah, that's also by chance.
Got it. And I think one of the things I'm curious about is a lot of because entrepreneurship is a buzzword now, and I feel like a lot of people who graduate college, a lot of people who are far younger are becoming entrepreneurs than earlier, right? While you have far more experience in this space as being an entrepreneur. What do you find, like, do you find it to be weird sometimes when you've started your entrepreneurial career later as experience? What's the difference? What's the advantage of starting out at this space with this experience behind you?
Okay. Again, if you look at my social profiles, I never still identify myself as an entrepreneur. Okay, I work for myself, but my default thing is I'm a communication trainer. My default answer is still, because I think one of the top things that I have because of my experience is the depth of knowledge that I have in my field. Okay, a lot of people who are entrepreneurs have found an idea in their 20s, they're still working on it, but I feel they haven't really taken the time out to build their skill set. Okay, so I can deal with communication inside out. I mean, whether it's a 6-year-old or a 60-year-old, you tell me what they need, I can tell you that. And business is the second piece that I have learned over a period of time based on how it was before the pandemic, how it is after the pandemic, and also how it's kind of fitting into my changing life goals as well. Okay, and I'm pretty much the elderly person in most entrepreneurial communities, but I think as an entrepreneur, I'm still learning the ropes. But when it comes to my product or the skill set, I think that is pat down. So I think that's a big difference between the youngsters today and me. And secondly, because of the pandemic, at least in my industry, it's been a boon because the geographical boundaries are gone. I think it's done a great thing for my business. And the fact that I had already had a brand online really helped me capitalize on that, because when the world shut down, people started Googling and my name started coming up, communication, and they could check out content on YouTube, LinkedIn. Okay, so I think I also have like 8 years worth of content online over there. So there again, I have a bit of an advantage compared to youngsters today. However, I think youngsters today are really good with technology. The number of tools and the apps that they can use for everything. Okay, for me, the learning curve has been a little steep, but then I did learn that, like from editing to newsletters to software, to record this thing, getting on Teachable, creating a course, uploading it. So yeah, I think those are things you just have to learn on the way.
I think for me, the one thing that stands out from the first time we had a conversation is that someone who is such an expert in one space can accept that they are a learner in another space, which oftentimes I see doesn't happen, because I know a lot of people who've been in a particular space for so long and they're so well reputed in that space, they're so good at that they believe that means that they're an expert in every space they ever encounter, which is just not true. So how do you balance that of being an expert, being a learner? Is it natural to you? Is it simple? Or is there a conscious effort where sometimes you have the expert hat on and sometimes you're the learner?
I think I've always been a learner. I remember when there was a lull in between when I wasn't getting a lot of programs because I was dependent on consultants to get in touch with me. I wasn't actively looking for business. I remember joining courses on Coursera just for the fun of it. I did a course on social psychology. I did a course on public speaking, which turned out to be like one of the best courses I ever did. Okay, so I've always been a learner. And I think as a coach, I believe that if I can't accept that I need a coach for something that I'm not good at, then I think I don't have the right to tell other people that you need a coach. Okay, so I've always been a learner. I still love learning new things. And I think one thing that makes me feel really good is I'm great at what I do. I am not pretending, I'm not fake, okay? So when I say I can get you results in communication, I can get you results. I think that gives me a lot of confidence and makes me completely secure in accepting the fact that, okay, I'm not good with technology, not great, but okay, if I watch a few YouTube videos, I can definitely learn. And if I'm not good in business, I'm completely okay learning it from someone who has done it. Similarly, people can learn from me because I'm the communication expert. So I don't mind learning from someone who's a business expert. Okay, so it checks out. It's fine.
Yeah, and I think that's a really healthy relationship to have with learning, right? And I love what you said of you're so reassured, you have security in what you do, and therefore you can learn with something else. So it made me think of another question, which is, and I want you to be really honest here, Suman, does it frustrate you or annoy you that young people can go online, get a certification to be a communication trainer or whatever it is in a week or 10 days, and then can go around telling people how to communicate better? Does that frustrate you? Does that excite you about the industry? Or are you just somewhere in the middle of that spectrum?
So since you asked me to be honest, I'm going to be very honest. And this is the first time I'm putting it on record. When it comes to communication training, I think I'm a snob. Because I think sticking to something for 20 years gives you a very different kind of expertise. And when you say the uncertainty of entrepreneurship, etc., but then I never wanted to change my field of expertise. Even when I've gotten bored and bummed and I'm like, this is not going to work, I should probably become a writer or something, I'm always like, I've given 20 years to this, okay? So I'm a snob when it comes to that. And I kind of look down on people who say, hey, I've done a 3-day communication certification and here I am. I'm like, sure, that's cute. That's really cute. It's okay, you know? So for me, when I look for experts, I really look for people. I'm not saying I have a great level or I'm super intelligent, but I think you need to connect with people at some level. Okay, so when you and I also had that first video call, I was like, you know what, you really make sense to me. You're really speaking my language, and I can make out that probably you know what you're talking about, because I've spoken to so many different people, and not just training. I think there's a certification for everything. There's a shortcut for everything in today's times. But I think certification is fine, but unless you personally invest in really getting better at whatever skill you claim to be teaching others, I think that's super important. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating how people do a certification and say, hey, I can train you for $2,000. Dude, don't spoil the market for the other people. So for me today, the biggest thing here is I've spent 20 years in the industry. So the kind of difference I can bring to your communication style, you know, I don't think someone who's 5 years in the industry can do that.
Yeah, I can only imagine the amount of frustration, because when I started, when I came back from the UK, I started going deep into the world of design thinking. And all I had done was I did an 8-week design thinking course, got certified. Then I did a whole bunch of design thinking projects for a year, saying, you can't just keep doing certifications, you have to learn it by doing projects. And so I did it for a year and a half. And I got really frustrated when people who had done the 8-week course and no projects were claiming they were design thinkers. And that's only because I had a 1-year difference. So if you have 20 years in this space and somebody goes and does, like, I can do a 3-day communication course tomorrow and claim somehow that I'm at the same level, that must be insanely frustrating.
People are claiming it. And in fact, when people come, a lot of people call me and say, hey, someone's giving a 1.5 month certification program for 90,000. Should I do it? I'm like, you know what? Go ahead and do it. Spend your money, but they still cannot teach you what I have learned on the job. When a client calls you, no certification can save you if you can really convince them that you really know your stuff. So yeah, I think it makes a huge difference when you've really worked on yourself apart from just a certification.
And another thing in your journey that I'm very curious about is you were very ahead of the curve when it came to building your brand online. It would have been very, very easy for you to say, what are these new platforms? Who cares? Let's go old school. Let's stick to what we know. But you very clearly were one of the early adopters of moving online and moving your brand online, even when all of the ready-made excuses were there for you not to sort of spend the time there. So what made you call out and say, okay, this is something I'm going to invest my time in earlier? And secondly, what benefits has it brought you?
So, when I started in 2014, you're right. We didn't have a whole lot of mess, in terms of so many platforms. So, first thing I was very clear about is I want to have a central online presence, and that became my blog. Okay, that it has to be a central online presence where it's my space. It started as a blog, and then I added YouTube links later, and then I added testimonials, and I kept adding to it. So I was like, number one, that is definitely there. But initially,
Sorry, Suman, I'm going to cut you off because I'm very, very curious. The thing I'm curious about is, I know this is how you've thought through it. I'm wondering, how did that thought come into your mind to say, yes, I need a central presence? Like, did you go out and just observe? Did you learn? How did you pick that up? Because most of us would have just missed it and not thought about this for a second. So what made you think about, I need this presence on?
yeah, because I think I was in a lot of blogging circles at that time. 2014, 15, 16, blogging was big. In fact, a couple of communities have even shut down since then. Blogging was really big, and I had a personal blog since 2009. And I was talking to a whole lot of these people. I had blogs to read, and I also checked out other coaches abroad. Okay, everybody had one central presence where you have your programs, courses, books that they've published, a blog post where they're, okay. So I was like, I want this place where if somebody wants to know more about me, they can read my content and say, oh, she knows what she's talking about. I think it started from there, because I don't think Instagram was big. Pinterest was big at that time. And even I started with presence on a whole lot of platforms, and then I figured, you know what, with just me in the business, I don't think that's possible. So the blog has been central because blogging was actually big at that time. So I think that could be a motivation.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, that's really insightful, because what it tells me is one of the things we should all be doing is figuring out if there are markets or countries where the industry you're in is more mature and more things are happening. We should really keep an eye on what's happening over there, as opposed to having the blinders on, because otherwise we'll miss opportunities like the ones that you found. Right, because of looking at those blogs abroad or the communication trainers abroad as well, which is cool.
I still do that.
Okay, and what you obviously are very, very active on LinkedIn. I think is your social media of choice, right? That's where you've built your presence. So you're very, very active there. I know a lot of members in the Jigsaw community have followed you not just for your content, but to understand how you are doing stuff on LinkedIn. And all of them come back with, how is there so much energy behind LinkedIn? It's consistent, it's constant, every post is valuable. My question is, what energy does it take internally? What's happening behind the scenes that allows you to be this energetic and show up on LinkedIn over and over again and deliver value to your followers?
I think the same question someone asked me on my first podcast interview in 2015, when he also noticed that my blog gets updated every single week, and then that content gets posted on, at that time I was active on Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Okay, he was like, how does this happen? It's like a machine that goes on and on. And 2018, I realized, boss, if I need business, I really need to give up Facebook, Twitter, and all that nonsense and just get on LinkedIn. Okay, so since 2018. So
in 3 seconds, you've just belittled two humongous platforms that just didn't work.
For my needs, for my target audience. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send a little clip of this to Elon along with all the other.
Sure. I mean, I had fun for 2 years on Twitter. I was a Twitter addict, literally, like click, 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 click. 2018, I just gave a cold turkey and I said, you know what? If I need to do something, I need to focus on where is my clientele. So I got on LinkedIn and that's how I started. 2018-19, I kept posting, nothing much happened. But there again, I got a LinkedIn coach for myself who taught me what to do. Okay, so I was like, I don't understand. Can someone teach me? Okay, I'm game. Let's do it. All right. Number one, for people who are listening, it's very intense. 2, you have to be able to stick to it no matter what, because working in fits and starts doesn't really help you build a brand. Number 3, take content as a piece altogether. There are tons of courses which you can take and understand how it works. So if you need a content strategy, number 1, what's your goal? Are you looking at clients? Are you looking at just giving information? Is it just an additional presence for you? Because a lot of people are on Instagram mainly, and then LinkedIn is an additional presence. Okay, so you can go ahead and create that thing, okay, the goal that you have. Sit down with a piece of paper and pick up the formats that you want to make content on. I'm talking about LinkedIn. LinkedIn has about 6-7
Right.
formats, okay? Text, video, image. Maybe just start with 3. Okay, and look at 4 times a week. All right. So if you do 1 text post a week, you just need 4 for a month. If you do 1 video a week, you just need 4 for a month. If you need carousels once a week, okay, 4 for a month is good enough. So if you write all 4 posts, record all videos, and create those carousels, you're done in 3 days. And LinkedIn has a local scheduling feature now, so you can just go and schedule them. And the secret sauce that I know is people always say post content. I would say post maybe twice, thrice a week, but comment every single day. Comment every single day, 30 minutes a day. The kind of reach that it gives you, the kind of responses that it gives you, it's great. So I think batch create content and you're done with it, because we have businesses to run, right? So I can't really be creating content every day. So that's my hack.
I like that. Okay, so batch create content and daily commenting and engagement is how you approach your brand building. Okay, got it. Yeah, when you say it, it sounds really simple. But I'm sure making sure you actually commit those 3 days to batch creating content, making sure you have the discipline, as my teachers in school used to say, do math 30 minutes a day. That's it. And it was as though it's the easiest thing in the world, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, right? So it seems simple, but I guess it takes a lot of self-motivation, self-discipline to make sure you stay committed. And I guess you have to see results, right? Because that must have been the hardest part. Was there a period on LinkedIn when you didn't have results and you kept going? So what kept you going when you didn't see results for like 6 months or 7 months or whatever?
2018 and 2019 is when I learned, and I kept posting. I had some 3,000, 4,000 followers at that time. I just kept at it because I knew LinkedIn is where my target audience is, okay? And I remember telling my husband so many times, I don't know why am I even posting on LinkedIn? Kuch ho to raha nahi hai. I don't know if anyone's even reading that. You know, my husband would say, just keep at it. And true enough, 2020 was a tipping point where people came to my profile and there was tons of content focused solely on communication. And they were like, hey, this is what we're looking for. So I think with social media, you have to stick around. Results don't come overnight. Even today, I think the reach that some people have who were in my creator program with me last year on LinkedIn, even I don't have that kind of reach. But I'm fine because I know my target audience is going to connect with it if and when, even in the future, they want to come and see, okay? So when people say, hey, I really got into it last year when I got selected for the accelerator program, I'm like, this is year 6 for me on LinkedIn. Okay, again, I think I'm an old timer here as well. Okay, so I'm like, I've seen how the platform has just evolved from what it was then and what it is now. So yeah, you have to keep at it.
One of the things that both of us, I think, align on and have a very similar mindset on, and you've shown evidence in this conversation of that again, is I always say, trust the experts. So if there's something that you don't know, trust an expert to help you with that space. What is the point of you trying to figure out everything by yourself? You have shown it consistently because you called out that you got someone to teach you LinkedIn, you got someone to help you with technology, you got someone to help you with business, etc. So is that, again, something that's just innately in you? Is it a conscious decision? What would you say to the people who are of the other school of thought, which is, hey, I've got to figure out everything by myself so I can be better and upskill, etc. What would you say to them?
So I think I've always had a growth mindset, that is for sure, in terms of learning new things. Again, when I think back, I'm like, I don't know what made me do that, but I did it. When I started my blog in 2014, I had to figure out WordPress, okay, how to set up a blog, put a page. I started watching WordPress beginner videos, etc. And then after like a couple of days, I was like, hang on. It's not my job to be a WordPress expert. I am the communication expert. Okay. So why don't I create the content list, the blog posts, okay, under presentation, communication, body language, okay, I had all those buckets on an Excel sheet, and ask the expert to handle the tech part, okay? Because I'm never going to be a WordPress expert. I'm never going to be a WordPress expert, okay? But then I'm going to spend, I don't know, weeks, months trying to figure out WordPress. That's a one-time thing. Okay, so I remember outsourcing that even at that time. And I think one thing that has really helped me over the years, I've also made a few mistakes, but if you're not an expert on something at all and it's a one-time thing, just give it away to people. It's worth spending that money because it's an investment in your business, freeing your time to do something that only you can do. Other people can't create content for me. Other people can't be on the camera to make videos or courses for me. Only I can do that. Right? And a whole lot of things like creating images. Student interns are so low priced, but since they're students, they're so good at technology. I've constantly had people do video editing for me, add subtitles, etc. because I know I can do that, but then that's just going to drain the time. It's worth spending 6,000-8,000 on a student intern who's going to just take that off my table. So I think we should not lose sight of the fact that what am I good at? And where is my time used better than figuring out every tech thing? We can't be experts in everything, which is why experts are there. Okay, so it's okay to accept, hey, I'm not going to be good at it. And it's not my job to be good at it. I don't want to be a WordPress expert, a Canva expert, a video editing expert. I can't be everything. I'm the communication expert. Okay, and these are all things that are going to help get my expertise out there and bring me business so that I can go out and do more of what I love. So, yeah, just outsource it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's really interesting because to me, like you've mentioned it a couple of times in this answer as well, where your assuredness about how good you are with your expertise and your chosen field really helps you make these types of decisions or think in this way because you go, okay, I am an expert, I'm aware of it. Now my only question is, how do I enable that expertise and make sure that it, amplifies reach, impacts more people, etc. So then when you're so assured about what you can bring to the table, then you start putting all the pieces in place to make that shine. While if you weren't confident or assured about it, then maybe you have a few question marks. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, because I think the world has only become more complex from what it was in 2002 or even 2014. Right? People have been after my life to say, hey, why don't you start an Instagram account, because that is the new thing. Now Threads has come up. I'm like, hang on, I just have two hands, one brain. I am the marketing mastermind, I'm the sales mastermind, I'm the content mastermind. I'm also the trainer, the coach, everything, okay? So no, I'm very, very careful about what I add to the plate. So no new shiny object syndrome for me, right? So even as a business person, we need to look at sales, we need to create content, we need to take care of additional, the current clients that we have, bring in new clients. So I think as an entrepreneur, we have to be really, really mindful of where is it that I can get that extra help and just get it. A lot of it, I look at it as an investment, saying it frees up my time. Instead of sitting and adding subtitles, which a student can do for me, just give it away, it's fine.
Okay, let's go from the conversation about what you are most secure about to what you are most insecure about, right? So you are most secure about your ability as a communication coach and a communication trainer. That comes out very, very clearly. What is on the other end? What are you most insecure about when it comes to this journey as an entrepreneur that really, keeps you up at night or brings out a little bit of anxiety, a bit of insecurity? What do you find the most challenging about this journey?
I think the fact that I'm not innately an entrepreneur, I think.
What do you mean by that?
Like I said, it's by chance. It never in my dreams, I imagine, hey, I want to be my own boss and I want to do my own thing. I was very happy doing a 9-to-5. Even now, sometimes I tell my husband, you know what, if I was still in my 9-to-5 job, probably I'd be like an HR director or something. I would have like big bucks coming in and I didn't have to do all the sales nonsense, which I hate anyways. Okay. And he's like, you're never going to let that go. I'm like, no, not really. I'm going to hold that one over you for the rest of my life. Okay. So I think that uncertainty of, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? So I'm somebody who likes to make a to-do list and tick everything off. But with an entrepreneur, it's never over. And this year I'm actually working on overcoming that anxiety and saying, okay, shut down the laptop, tomorrow is a new day. You're not going to finish everything anyways today. So I think that anxiety of, is there an end to this? Like, is there a last check that you can make? Probably not. So I think that feels like a never ending, it's like an open loop all the time. So I think that is what makes me the most anxious.
Yeah, that's really interesting because, I always tell people and entrepreneurs that entrepreneurship is a marathon, not a sprint. But what you say actually makes even more sense. It's a marathon that doesn't have a finish line because you just keep going, right? There's no sort of end to it. So thanks for making me anxious by just sharing that, because now I'm thinking about it and it is adding some anxiety to it.
I think you could say there is an end point when you want it to be an end point. If you say I want to add more services and I want to make more money and I want to cover more geographical areas, and probably then there's no end to it. So if you say here are my life goals, this is what I need to do, then fine. You just try and put that on autopilot. So
yeah. Okay, thank you for now bringing my anxiety down with that. Very nice. You've taken me on a roller coaster in the last minute. Okay, so let's go from very deep talk to having some fun. So as you know, we have a little segment we call Jaldi with Jigsaw, where I ask you very quick questions. So are you ready to play Jaldi with Jigsaw? I've just got a few questions for you.
yep.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Let's go. Let's start with, what's the latest show you binge watched?
We recently finished watching The Night Manager on Amazon, and now I'm going to start watching the latest season of Sweet Magnolias.
Okay. What is your favorite podcast at the moment?
I am not into podcasts. I don't listen.
I love it.
To
You're on a podcast and you're like, actually podcast, not for me.
I'm just getting patient with videos. For me, reading is like the best thing I can do it at my speed. Okay, I do listen to some podcasts sometimes of other coaches, but
Sure.
no.
Don't worry. Okay, let's go with what's your favorite book or the book you're reading right now?
Okay, that's a strange question to be caught off guard. Okay, because I keep reading so many different books. I just finished 2 books last week. So I'm currently reading books by Sally Rooney. She is recently, she's finished a 3rd book and she's really on the bestseller list. It's like, oh, what is this? So I'm reading that. I just finished reading a book on entrepreneurship, how to keep your shit together. Okay.
Okay, that's a good time.
Yeah, so those are a few books that I'm reading right now.
Nice. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
I'd be a writer/blogger.
Got it. What do you enjoy the most about being your own boss?
I don't have to answer to anyone.
Okay. And what's the most draining part of being your own boss?
That I'm answerable to myself, that my conscience is constantly telling you, why are you watching Netflix? Why are you sleeping? Why are you reading a stupid book? Work. So, yeah.
Okay, segues very nicely to my next question, which is, how do you switch off?
Reading is something that's really close to motivation for me. I still read tons of books, different genres. In fact, I read more than 2 books at a given time based on what my mood is. And if I'm too tired for that, then I just switch on Netflix and watch something that I watched a million times before. I'm the rerun queen. My husband's like, you're watching this again? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes brainless stuff helps to just take your mind off.
I know Ross is going to end up with Rachel, and I know Charlie Sheen is going to die, so...
Yeah, there's comfort knowing what's going to happen. What's your entrepreneurial superpower?
I think I'm hardworking. Even though I don't have a boss, I set work for myself and I diligently do it. And I'm very serious about taking those goals seriously, So I think that's important. You have to keep at it.
How do you want to be remembered?
After I'm dead?
I don't make me say it, but yes, that's what we're getting at.
I'm dead. I'm worm food. I don't care.
Don't care. Okay. Who's your biggest cheerleader?
Vocally, no one. But otherwise, I think, yes, you need to have your spouse on your side to just go ahead and take the chances that you want.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Final two questions. What's a piece of advice you would give other small business owners out there?
It's not easy, so be sure, really sure that you want to get into this.
And finally, what 3 words would you use to define a jigsaw thinker?
Crazy, because I think the community has so many different, Supportive, because I think you can ask questions and people are there. They're very quick to tag people and things like that. Positive. I've already connected with other people, when I say in person, even online, which I think I've never had to connect with any other community. So creative, crazy, and positive.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. Well done. Jaldi with Jigsaw was a smashing hit. Well done. That was really quick. Well done. Okay, I have 2 more questions and then we can wrap up this conversation. I think for me, one of the things I would love to know about, and I'm sure the listeners would as well, is what's next for Suman? What are you up to next? What are your next big goals? What are the things you want to get involved with? What's on your mind in terms of the next 6-12 months? What can we expect from Suman?
After exploring so many different paths, I'm hoping that the path that I'm now on is going to be like the final path. So I've always been looking at the final business numbers, but now I've decided to step back and start building systems that would automatically generate those kind of numbers, hopefully. So right now I'm on a very low anxious scale. I'm like, hey, I have a quarter. I'm going to start building systems that help me automate probably my sales, where I don't have to keep going and talking to people. And that's important because being one of the older entrepreneurs, my life goal is in the next year or so to set up systems where I know this is what I need. And I just want to go ahead and start building those systems, whether it is like a newsletter that I'm launching next week, probably put systems for content, start thinking of creating more content as online courses. So that way then you know that the sales are just going to keep happening. So I'm trying to see how my effort is going to be reduced in the next 1 year so that the systems that I put in place are just going to I just have to keep them going.
Got it. Okay. And we have been working together, and I think you've been part of the Jigsaw community for 3 months now, 4 months now. I'm terrible with time.
May, June, July.
Okay, so 3-4 months now. So can you tell me a little bit about your journey with Jigsaw so far? What has stood out for you? What are the headlines for you?
I think first of all, our conversation itself, I think stood out for me compared to so many different people I've spoken to, asked for help. What is it? Everybody teaches their own systems. So I think I love the fact that I have the freedom to be me and become the kind of entrepreneur or the business person or the communication coach that I want to be. Okay, there are tons of people who say, okay, here's my system and I'm teaching you. Okay, I've learned different systems and things like that, but I'm like, a lot of that does not really gel with what my life goals are, where I am in my life. So I think working with you in Jigsaw is like MBA in my own business. You know, like so many things that I've learned and which straight away apply to my business. It's not theory that MBA school teaches you. It's like, okay, let's see what we can do. I think that kind of connect, and like I said, I've already connected with a few people on Jigsaw itself, and I have their WhatsApp numbers, so we're like chatting and talking and things like that. I think that's never happened anytime before. I don't know, I'm not saying I'm super intelligent or something, but everybody's an entrepreneur today, and not everybody can really kind of connect with the kind of journey that you've had and where you're trying to go. So I think that kind of connect is very unique for me with Jigsaw.
Okay, wonderful. I'm so glad things are working for you with Jigsaw, and we're very excited to be a part of your journey. Keep cheering you on and keep helping you on your journey as well. I think final thing that I would love for you to share with the listeners is if they are interested in your journey or the communication training that you offer, where should they be following you? How can they get in touch with you?
So you could look me up online. My name is Suman Kher. I'm not related to Anupam Kher, but you will get the spelling right. If you Google me, you will find all my online presence. Or you can just go to LinkedIn and say Suman Kher, and mostly I'm the first name that comes up. And you can just DM me. You will always find a Calendly link there. So a lot of different ways to get in touch. Leave me a comment on my YouTube channel. I'm all over the place, so you will get a response within 24 hours.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Suman, for opening up about your journey today. Lots of insights, lots of learnings for me as well in terms of what I have to keep an eye on to make sure I have longevity in the entrepreneurial game. So thank you so much. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. We're Jigsaw Thinking, home of the self-starters. If you're interested in being your own boss, head to jigsawthinking.com or drop us a DM at Jigsaw Thinking on Instagram.